Thank you for the introduction. Hello, everyone. My name is Owen. Today, I'm here to talk about our work evaluating how well the iOS app privacy report worked for users. This work was done at the Carnegie Mellon University with Lydia, Eric, Hannah, and Luyo. Transparency is important for privacy. Providing users information about how companies handle their data can help them understand privacy risks and make better decisions. In recent years, online platforms have started providing privacy dashboards that communicate privacy-related information to users. For example, Google allows users to review apps that can access their Google account, and Microsoft shows users what apps they have been recently using and the time of usage. In 2021, Apple introduced the App Privacy Report. Whereas the previous two dashboards show information about an online account, this privacy dashboard covers information from an entire device, such as an iPhone. The report allows users to check what data or domains are accessed by their apps and by the websites they visit. Within the report, there are two types of information. The first is data and sensor access, which is similar to other dashboards and shows users what data about them have been accessed by apps. The second is network activity. As far as we know, this is the first mobile privacy dashboard that provides information about network activity to users. This makes it important. The App Privacy Report is new, widely available, and provides information users couldn't access before. This makes it important to study how well it works. So we asked the following research questions. First, do users understand the information from the privacy report and potential privacy risks associated with what is shown? Next, how do users react to the information in the privacy report? Are they comforted, surprised, or concerned? Lastly, what are users' intentions to change how they interact with apps and websites on their devices? We answered these research questions via semi-structured interviews. To find our interview participants, we used a screening survey to identify people who use an iPhone as their primary personal device. The App Privacy Report is an opt-in feature, so we instructed eligible participants to turn on. Once turned on, the report starts recording activity and keeps the data for up to 7 days. So we had participants schedule interviews at least 7 days after they had turned on the report. In the interview, we started by asking participants to explore the privacy report on their own and to think aloud. Then we asked follow-up questions to learn more about their thoughts and reactions. Lastly, to check whether participants have continued to interact with the App Privacy Report after the interview, we sent a follow-up survey 2 weeks later. All of the findings I will be sharing today comes from the interview portion of our study. Please check out our full paper for additional results. As mentioned before, there are two types of information in the privacy report, data and sensor access, as well as network activity. Before we dive into the findings, I want to walk you through the interface of data and sensor access. The home screen of the App Privacy Report shows the 5 apps that most recently accessed a sensor or data. If you tap on the Show All button, that shows you a list of apps that accessed any data or sensor in the last 7 days. Say I'm concerned about the Instagram app, so I tap on it, and now I can see that the Instagram app accessed photos and camera on my phone. Suppose I want to know when camera was accessed, so I tap on it, and now I'm shown the 4 times in the last 7 days that Instagram accessed my camera. I will now share our findings on data and sensor access. By going through these screens we saw moments ago, participants were generally able to understand which app used what data or sensors. For example, participants understood that the weather app accessed the location information, Instagram used camera, and so on. When participants were able to connect a data access to the functionality of an app, they were neither surprised nor concerned. However, almost all participants found at least one instance of data and sensor access that they couldn't relate to the app's functionality. One app that raised concern is the podcast app built into iOS devices. Participant 148 were concerned to see the app accessing contacts and media library because they do not use the app at all. Most participants were also surprised by the Health app accessing contacts. It turns out that the Health app needs access to context data to search for the emergency contact person. The lack of any information about why such access was needed caused confusion and concern among participants. When participants were concerned by certain apps accessing their data or sensors, they expressed wanting to remove such permissions. However, participants found removing permissions difficult because the privacy report itself didn't include any toggles to change permissions. Instead, users need to exit the app privacy report, navigate to the settings for a specific data or sensor to turn access for each app off. Besides not being able to change permissions within the privacy report, some permissions cannot be controlled at all. For instance, you cannot prevent the Health app from accessing contacts. Next, we will talk about the other type of information, network activity. Again, I will go through the steps for a user to interact with network activity information in the privacy report. To begin with, the privacy report shows you the 5 most active apps in terms of the amount of network activities. We tap on the Show All button to see the full list. Say I'm concerned about what the Twitter app has been up to, so I tap on it to reveal a list of domains contacted by Twitter. Say I tap on the double-click domain here, and now I can see all the apps and websites that have contacted the double-click domain in the last 7 days. Now I will talk about what we learned from participants interacting with network activity in the privacy report. Each domain in the privacy report has a page with all the apps and websites that have contacted it. From this page, most participants recognized that multiple apps or websites were contacting the same domain and identified the privacy risk of cross-app tracking. About half of the participants also identified third-party data collection by recognizing the domain contacted is not owned by the same company as the app they were using. For example, here, the Uber app contacting a Google-owned double-click domain. Even though, as I just described, some participants identified some privacy risks associated with network activity, most participants were confused by domain names. The domain names shown here on the right are examples of what participants found hard to comprehend. Besides not being able to understand domain names, participants were overwhelmed by the number of domains contacted. For example, in this screenshot, Instagram contacted 561 unique domains, while Chrome and YouTube contacted over 150 unique domains each. These big numbers surprised users, adding to the concerns they already have due to not understanding what many domains were or why they were being contacted. Based on information in the privacy report, it was not clear to participants what data is collected and shared with domains. Participants' concerns were tied to their expectation of an app's functionality. For example, participant 99 believed their smart light app, GoSunt, should not be contacting the domains they saw in the privacy report for them to control some smart light bulbs. Since much information about domains, such as what they are being used for, is missing from the privacy report, participants said they want to look for information somewhere else, such as by using Google search or asking others on Reddit. With that said, it was not clear what participants would do with additional information. Based on our findings, we make some recommendations for privacy dashboard design. First, lack of explanations to why certain access happened caused surprise and concern among participants. Adding explanations on why an app needs access to data and sensors could alleviate some concerns. The dashboard could, as shown here in red, explain why the Health app accessed contacts on the same screen that shows when such access happened. Further, participants wanted to use information from the privacy dashboard to make privacy decisions. To help with that, the privacy report could provide a toggle for users to change permissions. Users can then use what is shown in this screen to determine whether they want a particular type of access to be on or off. These recommendations also apply to other privacy dashboards where transparency and control could be provided to users in one place. For network activities, participants were confused and concerned by domain names. While it may be difficult to change all domain names to make sense to users, adding a label explaining the purpose of each domain could alleviate some concerns. Other than individual domain names, participants were overwhelmed by the number of domains contacted. Adding a summary of network activities to privacy dashboards would provide users with a higher level picture. This summary might reduce the need for users to dive into individual domains or apps. It could also reduce the risks of overwhelming users and minimize unnecessary concern. Currently, a domain is often used for multiple purposes. This makes it hard for users to tell whether they should trust a domain or not. It also makes it challenging for privacy dashboard providers to label and distinguish domains. If domains are how we explain to users what their apps do, then we suggest a single domain shouldn't be used for multiple purposes. For example, a domain shouldn't be used for advertising and key app functionality. In summary, the App Privacy Report is one of the newer, widely available privacy dashboards, and we were curious how well it worked for users. We found that users were able to understand data and sensor access pretty well, but information about network activity was difficult to understand. And if participants understood it, they only had more questions. Based on our findings, we identified several potential improvements to privacy dashboards that would help it serve users better. And thank you for listening.
Okay, question from audience? Yes, we have one question here.
Hello, John Sadiq from the University of Tennessee. Thank you for your talk. I was wondering if you got the sense that even though users were still concerned with some of this information or didn't quite understand it, that overall this was still helpful for them in some way, that they would be able to at least see maybe on the permission side something they understood, that they still enjoyed having this information, or do you feel like across the board it was overwhelming?
Right, so that is where the story splits apart. So for the data and sensor access, yes, users definitely found it, participants definitely found it helpful, and they expressed interest to take some actions. But for network activity, I think it's more negatively received by the participants because they were confused by what domains are and why they're being contacted. Although I don't remember the exact numbers, but a good number of participants said they appreciate this information being available to them, and they want to look for more information somewhere else. And our suggestion is maybe building those informations into the privacy report would make it like more directly helpful to users.
Okay, can I a quick follow-up? Have you considered in your recommendations about maybe putting some of that more confusing information in a different place so that users don't have, I don't want to say as easy access, but maybe so that users don't accidentally stumble into that when they're not really familiar with those kinds of like domains, so that they can get better access to the clear information?
I see. So Apple actually, I'm not sure if it's intentional or not, but the App Privacy Report is one of the last options within the privacy settings on your device. So I think that's somewhat an attempt to maybe hide this information from users who are not interested in digging up what network activity is happening on their devices. We didn't consider specifically to have such information about network or domains somewhere at a separate place. But yeah, I think that's a good suggestion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Room for a quick question.
Yeah. Hi, Alexander from TU Darmstadt in Germany. So I knew that this privacy report in the past, you could only export the data. And now the new version also shows you some visualization that you analyzed. Did you also consider making an own app that has better visualization with the things you already suggested? Or did you find maybe another tool that does it better?
Right, so we actually did consider a follow-up project on making better visualizations. There are some apps already exist that can parse the privacy report and present them differently, but as far as I've looked last year, those apps weren't doing a great job. Yeah, I think that's definitely interesting future research on how to present this information better to users for them to understand.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, let's thank our speaker again.
Thank you.